All right, welcome back to watching me work on my house addition. Almost 1 year ago, I started digging the basement, and this is about as far as I got last year. And then it was a pretty long, cold winter, but I am finally ready to get back after it. But basically, we started with this current house, then I dug a basement for the addition, but also dug out the dirt underneath the current house because this was just a crawl space. So while I was putting a basement on the addition, I wanted to tie it in and put a basement under this house also. So new footer, new ICF walls, concrete floor, and then put in the floor system and subfloor. And the next step is the wall and roof framing. So I already prepped the wall for the old house. The chimney left a long time ago when I first started digging, but I had to tear all the siding off. I had to get rid of those windows, close those in, and then kind of notch out part of the roof for now, enough to get that side wall up. So I think I'm going to start with this side wall because that'll probably be the easiest, and then maybe do that one and then the two gable walls. But I'm just going to get after it and see how much I can get done. So when I was tearing out this chimney, I had that big excavator, and I kind of thought so at the time. We were moving this wall pretty good, and it's kind of bowed out. There's not a lot of weight on this wall, but now that I'm trying to line up these two new walls flat with that one, I can tell that it's still bowed out, so we're trying to make up for it here. See, like this wall's almost plumb, and you got a big gap right there. We're touching on the bottom. See if I can get a little bit more. I think we got most of it. That's pretty close. Yeah, that looks a lot better. When you sight down it before, it kind of bananaed out, but it looks a lot straighter now. He probably moved almost an inch.
Felt like.
Yeah, that's good enough for tying into that old house. You gotta put up the way the trees come.
Yeah.
Let me print mine. So I don't think that wall went too bad. I don't really know too much about framing. I haven't done anything this serious before. I'm more of a metalworking guy, but I'm kind of figuring out as I go. I watched a few YouTube videos last night, but it's not too difficult. There's obviously going to be a large doorway, kind of a hallway here eventually that's going to open up into the old part of the house. And I still have to add one more piece of sheathing right there. I went with the zip system, this R sheathing, and I wasn't going to go with the R stuff. I wanted to use the zip, but this R sheathing, for those of you that don't know, is the zip system, the normal painted 7/16 or 1/2 inch OSB, but this stuff's got a laminated ISO board, like a foam insulation board laminated to it, and I wasn't going to go with that because of the price. But I actually found this stuff, a really good deal on this stuff on Marketplace. I pretty much paid what the normal zip sheets would have cost, not counting the foam. So just the normal 7/16 OSB, I paid per sheet for this insulated stuff. And this is the thinner stuff. It's like an R value of 3. So it's not a ton, but every bit counts. And I really like that it gets rid of the thermal bridging in between your stud wall. So you have an outer layer of insulation that I think is really going to help out. So it's getting dark now, but I'm going to see how much I can get done on this opposite wall. finished up this long wall. I only screwed up my layout like 6 times. This is 40 foot long. So other than the tape, this zip system, you have to tape the seams, which I would do right now, but I don't have the tape yet. So I wanted to have it here, but I just didn't go as planned. So that's coming soon, but I can tape that after the wall's standing. I can do that from a ladder. It's not a huge deal, but it would have been nice to tape it while it's on the ground. So I got to figure out a way to stand this one up. This is going to be really heavy. There's no way we're standing this one up by hand. So I'm going to use a skid steer somehow.
Technically, it's 3, like,
You're supposed to have 10 square foot.
when we let off the free range, so that run was really only there. Usually they, like, ours, for, like, the most part, stayed, like, in the wood line. But it's a yeah. But I mean, even our chickens, like, I played with them, they were chickens, they didn't, like, only, like, 2 of them, like, make it. You have to, like,
tilt. Got the whole thing back straight up. Stop. So this next wall I'm going to frame is this back wall, but before I do that, I need to figure out what I'm doing with this second floor. This house is going to have like a second floor loft, and I've been going back and forth on how I want to frame that. And I think I've decided to change up my original plan. Originally, I was going to put my second floor joists on top of this wall, just like I built the first floor. But upon thinking about it, if I put them on top, I'm gonna lose the headroom I have upstairs, and I'm only so limited on how tall, like I want the peak of the roof. So I think I've decided to put like a header at the top of this wall and use joist hangers and go in the side of the wall. We have enough height down here. These walls are 9 foot, so you'll still have a little over 8 foot walls, and that'll gain us headroom upstairs. So it's gonna be similar to this header. This is gonna be like a hallway, but I need to do the same thing all the way across there and across there for half the house, so my joist hangers have something to tie into.
Gotta kick way back out. All right, hold that for now.
more. Hold it. Screw that, Dustin. Screw it.
Now I screwed that wall up. I forgot because I changed my plan for the second floor joists going into the side. I got to cut all those down because this is going to be a load-bearing wall, and the joists have to sit on top of this.
Get back up.
So I had to temporarily support this beam because eventually there's going to be a big tall column, steel column about right there in the center of the house that goes all the way up to the ridge beam, and this beam is going to tie into that column. But we don't have that in yet because it's going to be really hard to set that. So I'm thinking about putting this second floor on and decked and then getting that column up there, and I think it'll be a lot easier to set once this floor is decked. So I just temporarily support it to elevation, and then once we get that column in, I could tie that in properly. But I think I'm ready to start putting in floor joists. I got my top plate set. It stiffened everything up. I did a double top plate up there too. Probably didn't even have to, especially because I put this LVL header on both sides, but I like doing it overkill. It really stiffened up the walls. I haven't really done much residential framing house building work, but the more I'm working on my house and figuring out what's code and ways of doing things, watching YouTube videos and stuff, I kind of realized that houses aren't really built that well, in my opinion. Like most cookie cutter houses don't really seem that strong. So I'm trying to kind of go above and beyond in the places where I think could really strengthen up the house. I've got to stop here for right now because I got some friends coming over to help me set this big steel column. So I just tacked these couple sheets down so we have something to stand on.
Oh yeah.
You ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that was pretty well done.
You didn't think we could do that, remember?
So I got this tall middle steel column welded in that's going all the way to the roof peak, and then I welded in this beam going from that wall to here that's supporting half of the second floor. And I did get most of my second floor deck on. I have a few more pieces to put in here, but I need to wait because I'm gonna put in 3 more floor joists that are gonna come out just to the center column. That's gonna be finished where it is, and then I'm gonna bump out a couple more floor joists here. That was kind of a last minute decision, so I'm waiting on the plywood till I get those in. But yeah, it was a little more work notching out and putting in this LVL because I decided to lower the floor joist instead of sitting on top of the wall. But I am kind of glad I ended up doing that because I made the top of my floor joist the top of that double plate, and I glued and screwed the subfloor, the tongue and groove OSB, you know, to that top plate and then all the floor joists. So I think it really locked everything together, made a really strong box. Like that there. And I did just finish framing up this back little gable wall here, so I'm about ready to stand that up. And then all that's left with the walls is this big front wall. And I am planning on framing that in one piece. I think they call that balloon framing. So I'm planning on framing it from the floor all the way to the peak. Unlike here, I built my lower first floor wall and then put my deck on, and then I built this on top of it. So because there's no second floor here, I plan on building that one big gable wall, and I want to stand that up. I'm hoping I can do that with my skid steer and the picker pole. I'm gonna try to avoid getting a crane, but that's gonna be a heavy wall, so we'll see how that goes. All right, hold on. Oh.
Drive in.
that thing gonna fall apart?
What nut?
Dustin,
There was a second nut. It's right here.
Dustin, I would stand back when you're holding that turkey.
On the mast.
I don't know, man.
We'll get it.
It took 33. Two tiny wheelbarrows. Makes it 35.
Well, so much for that. We're gonna have to figure out something else here. So standing this wall up was a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I pretty much didn't have a strong enough picker pole, and I was pretty limited on height with the skid steer being 10 foot lower here to be able to reach up and tip this wall. Luckily, a bunch of friends showed up, so I had the help. We were pretty much able to pick from the top of this center post and got up to about a 45. The wall was sitting at about a 45, and then that was kind of fighting us because it wanted to start dragging it this way. So once we had it held at a 45, we were able to rig the skid steer up kind of halfway decent to be able to try to just back up and pull the wall the rest of the way up, but we had to have a tie back for the bottom so the bottom doesn't kick out, and then eventually we got it all the way up. So it was a little bit unorthodox, would have been a lot easier with a crane, but we figured it out. It kind of worked out. That wall looked a lot smaller when it was laying on the ground. And we are gonna have a chimney going in between the garage doors and the windows all the way up, mostly on the exterior. So it's gonna be maybe 3 foot out and like 4 or 5 foot wide. So that'll give it some more depth. But it's looking pretty good putting that wall up. Really shows how the house is coming together. But I'm gonna end this video here on standing up the walls. I have a little bit more detail work to do. I got some more flashing tape I got to do, the seams and around the windows. I got to put up a couple more pieces of the zip. I've got to rip some sheets and kind of overlap this bottom rim joist like I did right here. Got to do that all the way around. But thanks for everybody who's watching and who's still sticking with me. The next video is gonna be all about the roof. So we got some ridge beams to set and all the rafters. So yeah, see you on the next video.